This story takes place in Hessian Town. For those of you unfamiliar with the area, it's a charming little village in the Yunnan region in southwest China. About 2 years ago, I lived in a pretty nice little house there. It had 3 rooms, a full kitchen, and an attic, all for only 1,200 yuan a month. For all of you who rent apartments, you'd know this is a damn good deal. A large cemetery was about 6 to 7 blocks away. Anyway, after moving all of my stuff into my new place, I started to explore a little bit. All the rooms, all the nooks and crannies and whatnot. I noticed that the room I had chosen for my bedroom had a small piece of paper just above the door in the closet. It was just inside the closet and placed flat on the wall between the top of the door and the ceiling. All that was on the paper was a few traditional Chinese characters. I wasn't quite sure of what it said, as I had never learned traditional Chinese, only simplified as taught in schools here in mainland China. But I did recognize something about it. Basically, there's these old traditions about monsters, usually vampires, that have a piece of paper attached to their head. If you search on Google for Chinese vampires, look at some of the pictures, you'll know what I'm talking about. That's what this piece of paper inside my closet looked like. I did ask my landlord about it, and she said that the last guy to live in the house was very superstitious, so I kind of brushed it off. I did leave the paper there though because, well, it's just one of those things. Why mess with something that you don't fully understand? The closet in my room, it was very deep and narrow, but it took a good 4 or 5 steps to get to the far side of it. After checking out my room, I headed up to the attic. The landlord previously told me, or sort of warned me, not to let anyone sleep in the attic. Whether or not this has anything to do with my story, I'll leave that for you to decide. She said that it gets extremely hot up there during the summer or something. I walked upstairs to a 2-roomed attic that had the door in between them removed. The first room had nothing inside, but the second had a couch sitting in the middle of it. There was nothing around it. No tables, no lamps, no light fixtures, or anything else. Just a dirty, white couch in the middle. Everything was sorted out, and the place started to feel like a home. A few months passed, and some weird things started to happen. I'm someone who tends to stay up very late, most of the time wasting the night away on my laptop, sitting on my bed. And on one of these nights, my closet door swung open. Not swung open as in a slow, eerie creak like they do in the movies. I'm talking swung open like someone roundhouse kicked it open. The first time it happened, I was very scared. My bed was facing toward the closet, so I looked up, scared, and saw nothing. The closet door was just flat against the wall, with nothing but darkness in the closet. There were no demon eyes, no shadowy figures, just darkness. I got up, closed the closet door, and went back to my laptop. This very same event, it started happening more and more frequently, but since I always had a window fan installed, I was always able to pass it off as some really strong draft or something. The fact that I couldn't close my closet door all the way supported my theory. The locking mechanism on it would have prevented it from swinging open like that. I told my neighbour about it once and I apologised for the noise in the middle of the night. But she said that she never heard a thing. I found that pretty odd, since the door slammed pretty loudly into the wall. A little over half a year after first moving in, I decided to move out of there. I found a cheaper but smaller apartment and decided to go with it. My friend knows people who work for a moving company, so I hired a few workers to move all my stuff out. While I was packing up all my things, I set up a little radio in my room to listen to while I was busy putting everything into boxes. I went to the bathroom, and upon leaving my room, I closed my door. It wasn't by accident or anything. I just had a habit of closing doors behind me. After I was done, I went back into my room. I opened the door, and I stood there for a moment. I closed the door, and then I opened it again. That's when I noticed it. I was not able to hear a single sound coming from my room when the door was closed. The radio was pretty loud, yet I couldn't even hear a tiny bit of it when the door was shut. This really creeped me out, more than the closet door slamming in the middle of the night, because it just didn't make any sense. Then I realized that maybe that's why my neighbor never heard the loud slamming. Still thinking about it, I continued to pack. Eventually, I went into my closet to get my clothes. I swung the closet door open and held it flat against the wall. I didn't want to keep opening and closing it as I walked in and out. But the door wouldn't stay flat against the wall. I would open it all the way, and then it would creak back a bit into a 70-degree angle. This is where I started to get really creeped out. All those nights that the door slammed open, it was at a complete 180. The only way it could stay like that was if someone or something held it open. Feeling very unsettled now, I grabbed all my things in the closet as quickly as I could and threw them onto my bed. I did not want to stand in that long, narrow closet any longer. After this, I went up to the attic to check up on the workers. They had just finished clearing the attic, and they asked me about the white couch. I told them that it wasn't mine, and that they can just leave it there. They shrugged and put it back down, and they went downstairs. As I turned to follow them, something on the floor caught my eye. A black, seemingly burned mark stuck out underneath the couch. I walked over, slowly, and pushed the couch out of the way. Sitting there, at my feet, was another Chinese symbol, burned into the carpet. It was as if someone had one of those cow branders, except it was huge and in the shape of a letter. I quickly called the workers back, and we stared at it for the longest time. A few of them chuckled. I wasn't laughing though, especially after they pointed out that this symbol was right above my room, right above the closet. I was going to go downstairs, finish packing, and get out of here. As I took the last box from my room, I looked one last time at the room, at the closet, and at that little piece of paper. The top right corner of the paper was falling off a little bit. I felt a deep, sudden urge to rip it off, but I denied that feeling and brought my stuff outside. It's been about 3 to 4 years since I've lived in that house, but I still think about it often. About a year ago, something happened to bring all of the memories flooding back to my mind. I was at my auntie's house for my cousin's birthday. I've been there before, but on this day, I noticed something I've never noticed before. I walked inside her house, and as I was taking my shoes off, I glanced back toward the front door, and something caught my eye. Above the door to her house, stuck in between the top of the door and the ceiling, was a very familiar looking piece of paper. This piece, it looked a bit different though, as the Chinese letters were faint, as if the paper was flipped around and facing the wall instead of facing me. I asked my aunt about it, and she told me it was a sort of charm to keep evil spirits away. She explained to me what the Chinese letters meant. Literally translated, it means no entry beyond. I asked her why she had the piece of paper flipped around like that, and she simply replied to me, "It's supposed to be that way." I stood there, frozen. A feeling of enormous dread swept over me. That man, that superstitious hermit of a man that lived in that house before me, he was not trying to keep evil spirits from entering that closet. He was trying to keep something from leaving.